I finally kind of got the guts to say, why do you keep coming in my room? Who are you? He sat on my bed and he said,
Jeffrey Epstein. Hey everybody, do us a quick favor and hit follow and smash that like or subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. It'll help us keep getting great guests and make it so you don't miss the next episode. Now on with the show. Welcome to Splintered Spirits, the podcast hosted by me, Gary, and my nephew, John Santa from Santa Paranormal. On this episode, we're talking to the better half, definitely the better looking half, no offense Nick, of a paranormal power couple, Tessa Groff. Tessa truly lives with 1 foot in this world and 1 foot on the other side. Tessa is a world-renowned psychic medium whose abilities began in childhood and went supernova after a near-death experience at the age of 4. She tried to live a normal life, studying education and mental health counseling, teaching in tough inner-city schools near Niagara Falls, and doing readings on the side until the messages she was getting for students, parents, and strangers became impossible to ignore. Since then, Tessa has helped grieving families and law enforcement on active and cold cases, remotely tracked missing people across the country, and delivered the kind of specific validations that can change a mother's entire understanding of how her child passed. She's taken that same grounded, no BS approach into theater shows, where spirits hijack the night with family secrets, and into haunted locations with her husband, paranormal legend Nick Groff, where her intuition and his gear collide. Sometimes in perfect sync, and sometimes in basement arguments over doors that should probably stay closed. We'll get into all of it. What spirits are to her, how she draws the line between mental health and mediumship, and what it's really like to work crime scenes and haunted homes with your spouse. And how you raise 6 kids in a house where the dead are just a part of the conversation. Let's dive into it with Tessa Groff. Tessa, what's up?
what's going on, guys?
Welcome to Splintered Spirits.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for doing this. It's great. We have a lot of fun here doing this thing. And you are someone who has been popping up in my feed so often as I'm diving into this entire paranormal space with, everything that you do in this, from going to locations to doing live shows. And that's kind of, that's just scratching the surface of you as a sort of a medium and a paranormal investigator. So I kind of want to dive right in on this with you.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. So
yeah.
I know you've said before that you've gotten your abilities in childhood and intensified after a near-death experience. What was that? What was that experience?
So I think I was born with the ability. So I like to clarify that I think that everybody who has the ability is born with it. I know this to be true because my grandmother, I believe, had the ability. She'd never admit to it. But now, and then my mom has it. And then I was born. And, but the difference with me is that when I was 4, I was rushed into an emergency surgery because of an illness that I had had since birth, but nobody really caught on to it. I come from a Italian family, super aggressive. Mm-hmm. And my mom was not going to let this slide. So she literally went to everybody she possibly could. And she finally got a doctor who diagnosed me and was like, she needs an emergency surgery, but this is like a big deal. Most other doctors didn't even want to perform it on me. But in the meantime, my body was literally poisoning itself. So I was going into stages of sepsis. So
Jesus, at 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
4.
Like,
wow.
Like not even 4, like pushing 4. So I had this surgery, and the first thing I remember is back then, and this is like 30 plus years ago, they let my mom into the surgical room when they were putting me under, which they would never allow that now. And she's standing here, and as I'm going to sleep, I remember seeing faces kind of surround me. When I woke up from that, I asked my mom, like, why was everybody staring at me? And she said there was nobody around me. Everybody had lined up like doctors, nurses along the walls, which was procedural. The only person there would have been her and the anesthesiologist. So she, right then and there, she was like, this is weird. And then I had like a 2-week hospital stay. I couldn't walk. I had epidurals down my back. I had to learn to walk again following that. And I remember one night where I'm in bed in the hospital and I see the door open and white lights come in, surround me. And there was just people smiling. And it was like, I was wondering if I was hallucinating. Was it the meds? I look at my parents who were sleeping on a cot. Nobody saw anything. That was like the first time I remember seeing something odd. And then going home is really when it all kind of kicked up. So by the time I got home, I started having experiences every single night. So I do think that my near-death experience, I think that maybe enhanced what I was born with. Because when I went back home, I started seeing a guy in my room every single night. And like back then, if you think about like 80s, early 90s, right? Like my mom had this curly black, like afro hair. And so I would see this person come into my room. At first, I would think it was my mom. And as the person got closer, I'm like, number one, that's a guy. And number two, definitely not my mom. I would freak out, go under the bed. And after this progressed for many days, I finally kind of got the guts to say, why do you keep coming in my room? Who are you? He sat on my bed and he said he was my uncle.
Jeffrey Epstein.
For sure. For sure. I was like, what the F? But he gave nicknames that he called everybody. He showed me the shirt that he was buried in. He basically gave a very specific message to my mom and my grandmother for his passing. So when I woke up the next day, I told them, long story short, and they're, crying. I thought maybe I was in trouble. I don't know. But come to find out, I have the exact same ability as my mom, as my grandmother. And that was like the moment that my mom realized that I have the same ability as her.
Okay. So now you're a kid and you're growing up with this.
Yeah.
Right? But you took a path of, you sort of went down education and clinical mental health. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were you keeping it separate? Were you keeping the medium thing just personal and you were trying to pursue a different professional career? When did these two worlds either collide or separate for you?
Yeah, I tried to be normal. That's what I was told to do. Like, if you really want the real story, I didn't want to go to school at all. I wanted to be a professional dancer because my background is actually in dance. I was a dancer from the time I was 3 up until a couple years ago when I had my last son. But so I was like hoping to be Janet Jackson's backup dancer. Like that was really what I wanted to do. But like my grandmother was, strong-headed Italian. She's like, you're going to college. So I did, and I tried to be normal. And I was drawn, though, into wanting to help people. So, like, I wanted to understand mental health, and I wanted to help people. I loved kids, so I went for teaching, and then my master's was in clinical mental health counseling. Where it separated was me thinking I was going to get fired from my jobs because I would be either doing clinicals for my master's or teaching in a school. And I would be picking up on, like, I worked in an inner city school at the time. So
whereabouts? Where are you from?
I'm from Niagara Falls, New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like outside of Buffalo.
Sure. No. I went to school in Syracuse up there. I know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I know the hell that is upstate New York.
Oh yeah. It's very fun. So we grew up around the block from Stefano Magaddino, too, the mob boss. So that was fun. But but besides the fact, so it was an inner city school, rough, neighborhood, rough city. And the kids, unfortunately, came to school with like a lot of really tough things going on at home. And I would pick up on like a father who was shot or stabbed, or I would pick up on, or the kids would talk to me about it. And then like the teachers would come to me and say, hey, what am I feeling? And I'd be giving readings in like the lunchroom. And then, so I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to get fired. So I started really pushing more toward doing the mediumship because I also felt that with my background, like clinical stuff, it kind of created boundaries for me where I couldn't be as honest with people as I wanted to be. Or like if somebody's diagnosed schizophrenic, but I'm positive that they're really seeing spirit, like basically I'm going to get fired. So I just dropped it and I just started pursuing my career as a medium.
I got first, like, I never even imagined I would never assume tough in inner city when I hear Niagara Falls. I mean, not to get off point for just a second, but I'm sort of thinking like, I never thought that Niagara, I always picture Niagara Falls like touristy. It's people were like, it was like the old school honeymoon place.
Upstate New York's a mess.
Well, I know it's
Yeah.
got part, but I never thought that area had
Their
that kind of
spots
thing
are
that you would have to
messes.
deal with that.
Well, let me-
Schenectady, I can go on and on.
Yeah. Well,
There's
but not back in the day. Like when I was a kid, it was a tourist location. It was beautiful. I mean, the area I grew up in was all Italians. Like they barely spoke English. It was an Italian neighborhood. You were safe to walk around. And I don't know if it was like the mob involvement or whatever, but you were safe. And like I was able to be outside and play and do whatever we had to do. And yeah, it was beautiful. But over the years, it has really crumbled. And it's really sad because it's one of the seven wonders of the world. So you would think, that it would be in better shape, but there's a lot of people fighting to get it better. So I don't know. We'll see.
It's got to be the mob, probably the mob, because that was where you would run booze over from Canada. Real close, right? That's probably why there's so many Italians over there, if you had to guess.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe that's why. Yeah.
All right. So you're fighting this battle with yourself here, dealing from, keeping it in. And what about your early years from there, then going into like certain locations? You're fighting it at school. You're going into these locations that have heavy activity for you. And when was like that first feeling like, that this is bigger than just this one-on-one I'm getting off this kid, when you're in, and then when do you make that move? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of things I think. Like, I feel like am I allowed to swear? Because
for sure.
Okay, because I'm trying to hold myself. Okay.
No, don't hold yourself back.
No, go for it.
I have an awful mouth, so I'm not sure.
Me too. You're good.
Yeah, okay. I've had a couple like kick in the ass moments, like when I was growing up, where I feel like there was like that kick in the ass to be like, you know what, this is something different here. One of them, honest to God, one of them was around 9/11 when that took place. I was in school the night before. I'm actually writing a book, and this is this takes up 2 chapters of the book because it's a wild experience. But I'm trying to like suppress this at school because, like, if you think about it, you're trying to fit in. People made fun of me having the ability.
What school? Like middle school, high school? Where are you? You look very young to me.
Thanks.
I'm serious.
I don't feel it. I feel like I'm 84. I think I was I was in middle school approaching high school when 9/11 happened.
Oh my God. Yeah, she is very young.
Yeah.
You're younger than me.
Yeah.
But
I was a senior when that popped off.
Oh, were you? Yeah. Well, I'll be 37 in a couple weeks. So I mean, but so yeah, I'm in like middle school, and at the time I'm trying to fit in, and people would make fun of you and things like that. Not everybody believed in it either. It was kind of something to make fun of, so I tried to keep it quiet. But I remember when 9/11 happened, the night before, I had these very vivid dreams, and I woke up choking. Like I was foreseeing fire, and I was trapped in a building. And I remember waking up, and my mom was kind of like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Get back to sleep. You have school in the morning." And I was coughing. And so she actually thought I was getting sick. And I said, no, it's the smoke. It's the smoke. And she's like, there's no smoke. You're out of your mind. Like, there's no smoke. You're fine. Your room is fine. Everything's fine. And I go to school. I was in home economics class. And I remember I was going to tell my best friend about this dream, and I didn't. And that's when the teacher flipped on the TV. And it was right before the second plane hit the towers. So we were watching it live. And I remember the feeling that I had was like so overwhelming. I actually had to run to the bathroom and throw up because I was so overwhelmed with how I couldn't understand how I would have seen that or heard like the noises that I heard in the dream of things collapsing and cracking and breaking and people screaming. And I couldn't understand it. And when I was watching it on TV, it overwhelmed me so bad. And I think that was where I realized that this ability, some people call it a gift. I don't call it a gift. It's like an ability. It's a blessing and a curse. It's like, and it's not always pretty, and it's not always happy, and it's not always all those things, So that was definitely one of those times. And I don't know if that answers your question, but that was like a point in time that really shook me, where I realized that this was something.
It does answer. And it's when you realize there's something more.
Yeah.
So when did you give up on the teaching and the clinical work?
I was already like finishing my master's. I had my first 2 sons. I became a single mom actually right outside of college. So I was working. I had my first 2 sons. I was only 24 when I had my first son. And I think the combination of knowing Like, I have to take care of these kids on my own. And also, I'm just not doing the right thing. Like, I'm supposed to be helping people in the way that I know I'm supposed to be helping people. I think both of those things shoved me into going into, pure mediumship. I will say this too. The other thing that I recognized was I was doing readings outside of everything. So, like, privately, I was doing readings with people. And I came across this woman and I did a reading for her. And she immediately, I picked up on her son. I already had my son. Okay. So this is at a point where I'm like 24. I had just had a son. Now I'm feeling all the feels of like what it's like to be a parent. And then I sit with this woman and immediately I feel her son come through. And the story that I gave her from her son was that he didn't mean to pass away. He was by the falls. I'll never forget seeing it. He was sitting by the falls. He liked to draw. So he would put himself by the gorge and he had like an easel and he would be drawing. And I guess one day he slipped and he fell into the gorge. And I guess police at the time kind of considered it like it was like a suicide. They were trying to say that this kid must have done this, right? The kid came through and basically told me that it was never like that. He didn't mean to hurt himself. It was an accident. He slipped. And he gave me like very specific details, like what he was drawing, the area he was in, what took place, like leading up to him going there, how the mother told him, you probably shouldn't be there. It's going to be too cold. You shouldn't be near the falls. Things that she would never know. And I remember I was sobbing because like just feeling what this mother felt, I was sobbing. And I left there and I remember thinking like, am I doing the right thing? Am I supposed to be doing this? Because this is fucking brutal. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to keep doing stuff like this when it's so heavy and it's like involving people's kids. And it wasn't until she messaged me like a few days later. And she basically said that she was so overwhelmed and like she didn't know how to keep going on. But she, the message I gave to her gave her such closure that no therapist, no anybody could have given to her. And that basically I was the reason that she was pushing forward and moving on. That kind of snapped me back into reality. And I was like, okay, all right, maybe I could do this. Maybe it's not going to be this bad. And there's things like that led up to a lot of my decision making and how I handle things and why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I love hearing that story. And I like that you brought up police because it's where I want to get into that with you in a second. Just a funny 9/11 story. If that even, can I say this?
Yeah.
But it's like where I was at 9/11. So I got the call. I was in LA. I was with my girlfriend, who's my wife now at the time. And it was like for early in the morning, right? So I was spending the night there, and her mother calls up, and it's like, we're on, everyone thinks we're under attack, and she knocks me awake. She's like, "You got to wake up," it's like, but her mom didn't know that she had a dude over, sleeping over. So it's like the conversation about America being under attack was like, who's this guy that you're waking up that you've clearly just slept with overnight? And then we're both like, well, I guess my parents know that we're sleeping, like it was like a whole thing. You know what I mean? It was just like, we were sort of like shacking up. But anyway.
You were saved by the terrorists.
It was like just totally made this.
Because if it wasn't for that, you would have been up Shit's Creek for sure.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I have a completely different 9/11 story. I was a super duper senior in high school. Right, I stayed back.
What is a super duper senior?
So basically, that's
somebody who stays back.
Somebody who stays back for something stupid. I stayed back because I failed gym, right? Because I didn't go.
You look like the picture of health.
I'm a volunteer firefighter at this point. I'm already 18. I'm a volunteer firefighter. And back in the day, we had pagers, and I'm sitting in class because I decided to take some AP courses towards college credits if I'm going to be there anyway. And I'm sitting in class, and my pager goes off, and it was a tone. It's a tone you never want to hear, right? It's that like all hands on deck tone. Like, usually you get that when we're at war. Mm. And I just remember just like rushing out of the high school and like all the hall monitors trying to stop me, and I'm like, nope, you're not stopping me. And there was two other super duper seniors too that were firefighters. So you just see us all rush, and we report to our stations, and it was just madness. That day was just complete madness.
Well,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
we all had
That's
very different
wild.
experiences on 9/11. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like Gary's.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a
Me
little
too.
keep it light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tessa, you brought up you just mentioned police, in a police report and how you saw something sort of different. You have worked with law enforcement.
Yeah.
How did that come about for you?
So weirdly, so my boys, my two oldest boys, their father was a police officer and he's now a sheriff. And when we were together, he did not believe in this stuff. I just think it freaked him out because he for sure believes in it. He's just afraid of it.
Right.
But back then, I remember even when I was a kid though, if I would see something on the news, if a case came up on the news, missing person, a homicide, whatever, I realized that as I would be watching this, I would get snippets in my head. And when I was younger, I didn't fully understand it. As I got older, I started realizing a little bit more and more, hey, what I'm seeing are things that eventually, when the news comes back on, it's playing out. And so I would be seeing like where the person would be located or maybe a vision of who was involved with this. And then next thing you know, it would pop back up. That person would be found in that location or, that person who was involved, their picture would pop up and I'm like, holy shit, that's the person that I saw. So like little by little, I would realize that for whatever reason, I have this ability to connect with cases like this. I think one of my first cases was in Wisconsin. So like I'm in New York. This woman who knew of me as a medium contacted me about somebody who had went missing in Wisconsin. So I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, well, I'm not in Wisconsin. So how am I supposed to help this person? So I'm like, you got to give me a map. Just show me where this person's at. Give me a city, something like show me a map. And for a week straight, I worked with law enforcement and her. She was a friend of the family who was connected to the family. So me, the family, law enforcement, and I would track where this person was. And he was alive for about a week. And I would send them, like, for example, one of these things had a bridge. So like I circled the bridge. I'm like, you need to get to this bridge because he's there. They go to the bridge. They find his clothing and like a campfire that he had made and like little signs that he was around. There was even like security footage. I'm like, there's a bar. And if you go and ask them, he's on security footage. And so they did that. And come to find out, there is security footage of this guy coming into the bar, leaving. So we tracked him for a week. One day I woke up, it was literally like 6-7 days into this. And I woke up and I smelled water and I felt this relief in a sense. And I hate to call it a relief, but I don't know how else to explain it. It was like something lifted off of me. Because I had been carrying his energy for 6-7 days trying to track him. And like, if I can explain that properly, you're taking on somebody else's energy. It can feel heavy, like physically. And all of a sudden I felt this relief, like it was gone. I smelled water. And in my head, I saw this river. I immediately called the family and I was like, you need to get somebody out to this river right now because I think that he's gone. They did a deep dive. They searched. I think it took them like a day or so. They found his body in the river. He did not want to be found. So this was one of those cases that was really unfortunate because he was on the run. He didn't want to be found and he ultimately took his life. But that case showed me that I was in fact able to help law enforcement. And so from there, it just spread.
When you get involved in a case, how do you walk me through a typical thing from then on? Is it like, do they bring you in to an active investigation or a cold case? And what do you like to know up front, if anything? Or do you tell them like, no, how do you play it?
So, I'll just give you a specific case and I'll walk you through that if that's okay.
Please. I love it.
There was one in October of 2023, I believe. Her name was Demaya Appling. It was a Florida case. She was 14 years old. So a PI had contacted me. She said that the police had kind of somewhat pushed the case aside. The family wanted more information, hired a PI. The PI found me. So she was the one who contacted me, and we were in direct communication with the family as well. The very first thing I asked for was I said, just give me a picture of her and give me a map. Like, where did she go missing? Does anybody know where she went missing? Just show me her picture. So I got a picture of her and a map of where she was supposedly abducted from. Had they given that to me a week prior, I would say we probably could have saved her. But again, they waited a week and they contacted me. So anyways, I'm looking at this picture and there's something called remote viewing. And I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So remote viewing is basically, for anybody who's not watching this, I'm able to see into a place or a location without physically being there. So within my mind's eye, I'm able to see visions, or to me, it looks almost like a film reel going over and over of what would have taken place. So I'm remote viewing now into Florida. And I took this map and I looked at her, and it was almost as if because she was already on the other side. And that was the first thing that I felt. And it was unfortunate, but I said, she's already passed. So she was showing me like just a very tall grassed area. And again, there was like water behind it. She's showing me all this. I'm looking at the map and I'm starting to remote view, and her location was here. And I just start drawing a line, and I'm asking her, like, show me where to go. So I'm drawing this line. She's telling me go up here. And I circle this one area. There's a river. And I said, there's a patch of very high grass and you have to go over here. So I circle it, whatever. A couple days goes by. The PI comes back. They were like, they found her body, and her body was in the location that you circled. There was high grass. It was right by the water. She came back to me, and then we worked on who would have done this. The last update that I got with that case was that the people that I described to her, again, remote viewing and through what I'm picking up from Demaya herself, was 4 different people involved. So I had a friend who's very good at sketching. So I had him draw people for me, handed those sketches over, and they were able to pinpoint these people. I don't know that they've been charged yet because of how the process works, and it takes a long time. But I do know they have significant evidence to prove that these people were involved. So that's like a long story, but a lot of it's remote viewing. Some of it's from the people who would have passed. And it just takes a lot of time and energy to like place things to where they need to be.
How do you emotionally decompress after working on a case like that? How do you protect yourself?
It always for me was dance, and I didn't realize that till later. Like for me, for years, taking on any type of reading or spirit or whatever throughout the day, when I would go to a studio or when I'd be performing something, to me that was a release. I didn't know that. Moving forward now, how do I release it? Man, that's really not easy. It's not easy, but honestly, it's like being outside and just doing something to ground yourself and to release things from your head in whatever way that possibly means, even if it's just taking a friggin' shower, and like just kind of decompressing for a second. It's like little things any way you possibly can to clear your mind.
Well, on the flip side of that, then what boundaries do you set with these families or the police officers or the PIs so they don't just treat you like some, magic answering machine, or something, like what do you tell them? What's that boundary like, especially for these unresolved cases that go on for years?
Yeah. I haven't had to set many boundaries. I will say for the most part, the people that I've worked with, whether it be a PI, law enforcement, or even the families, they've been so respectful and so just appreciative, I think, of what I do. I haven't really had to set boundaries with any of them. And maybe that's also, I'm the type of person that will just take it all on and then deal with it later. So maybe that's a me thing, but
sure.
I just take it all on. That's pretty much when it comes to criminal cases. I literally will exert as much as possible to help the families.
Do you still do that, or is that backed off a little bit now?
No, I do it actively. And there's actually, we have a show that we were working on that's going to surround just that aspect of my life, the criminal side of things.
Got it.
Yeah.
So add that to the many other things you do, which is you've got live with the other side, and then you've got stuff with Nick where you go into like haunted locations and haunted houses, right? So you've gone from these intimate readings and then to touring in big casinos and big venues. What surprises you the most about translating mediumship into that kind of a theatrical environment, into that kind of stage environment?
Like doing the theater, casino shows and all that. Well, I've been on stage my whole life. So I think like my comfort zone if I had to choose to do anything, honestly, it would be stage. It would be something to do with a live audience. I think it's amazing when I get up on stage and there's thousands of people, hundreds to thousands of people sitting in front of me, the validation that comes through. And even if like I don't read every person, which is pretty much impossible in that audience, it's weird because a lot of people will receive messages like through third parties. Like if I'm reading this person, but maybe they over here understand the message and like that seems similar to my situation, they take the message for themselves as well. And I think it also gives validation to the entire audience that spirit can communicate from the other side. Like you're actively watching it. So, you know, and I like to interact with people. Like I think being a performer, and some people say I'm funny. I don't know. I try to bring some lightheartedness to it as well. So I like to interact and I like to mess with people, and I like to, you know, if I'm making you cry, I'm also going to make you laugh, and I'm also going to bring it back around and try to give you a positive message rather than you bawling your eyes out and leaving and stuff. So I do have fun with it, but it's also important to me to show that live, to show people that this can happen, it does happen, and you're witness to it.
And the energy's different, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
So this is a good time to ask before we get into like the haunted houses too, which I ask all of our guests, right? So what are spirits to you? What are you dealing with?
In a haunted location or like
anywhere?
In a show?
What's a spirit? What are spirits? What do you think you're talking? What are they?
I think it's an energy. Like if you're thinking of when somebody passes away, there's scientific evidence to prove that we contain energy. And when a person dies, there's been proven documentation of like a light or something that releases from them. And so I've always believed that we are energy, our soul, or whatever you want to refer that to, is energy. So I do believe that a spirit, from my belief, would be like a soul of somebody energetically, because it takes energy to communicate with them as well. They communicate almost telepathically. So the way I see them would be within my mind. I can hear them, see them within my mind. So to me, that becomes like an energetic thing. So I think spirit is a form of an energy, a soul on the other side. But not all of those things are lighthearted and fun. And like, it's not always grandma, you know?
But wait, real quick, before we get too far, when you keep saying the other side, what is the other side to you? What is that?
Oh, that's such a loaded question, because people
it's okay. And listen, don't worry about your answer. Like, I don't want you to feel like it's loaded. Everybody has a different answer to this. That's the whole point of what we're doing, is we're sort of putting together this mosaic or tapestry of answers to try to see the commonalities, right?
Yeah.
So if it's based on your belief system, that's cool. I mean, we don't judge over here. It's just, but you're using that term. I like to know what Tessa Groff thinks is the other side. Are we in the clouds? Are we like just a mirror we can't see? What is it to you? What does that mean?
See, I'm still trying to figure certain things out, because to me, the other side is almost a different dimension. Like, I think that we coincide with the other side, just a different dimension in a sense, because I grew up Catholic Italian, right?
So did we. But John and I are both Catholic Italian.
Right. So like, but so you realize like, then you have a pre-notion of like, what is the other side? It's heaven, right? So like, you're described this beautiful place, and it's heaven, and it's happy, and it's white, and it's all these things, right?
Sounds terrible, but yeah.
So it's like, that's what you're brought up to believe, right? But then you have all these experiences, and in the Catholic religion, there is no such thing as them coming and talking to you and whatever, right? So there's this weird kind of disconnect between religion and what now I'm experiencing as a medium. So now I'm trying to like change my thought process of maybe there's more to it, and maybe it's not so tunnel visioned. I do think that it is a different dimension in a sense that can coincide with us. So I think that some spirits are aware that they've passed on. There's an acceptance to them on the other side in this other dimension, and that they are able to communicate back and forth. And at the same time, I think that within this other dimension, there are souls that have not fully moved on or maybe realized that they've passed. And that's why we get different types of documentation with souls like that as well. But I've also done things like research near-death experiences, right? So people who've had near-death experiences, when they come back from these near-death experiences, 90% of these people talk about a very bright place that feels like what would be described as heaven, and that their family and loved ones are there. And so, you know, there's a lot of different things coming into play here that I'm still trying to kind of figure out. But I think there's some truth behind obviously what these people experience with this white light. And even during readings, a lot of the times they say, spirit says to me, I'm with so-and-so on the other side. They passed before me. They greeted me when I passed. That's why I believe that nobody ever dies alone. I believe that somebody's always there to greet them, so they don't ever pass alone, no matter what the circumstances in the physical world. So I think it's a bunch of different things, but I do believe that they have the ability to connect with us, talk with us, do things here in the physical world, manipulate things. So I think it's a bit more than what they would describe heaven to be.
Thank you for that. So knowing that that's with that energy and that's how what you feel they are when you're on a stage, jumping back to your theater shows. Are you treating the entire room as one field of energy, or are you immediately drawn to specific people or like hot spots that you might, like the way you would be if you're in a haunted building or something?
I'm very drawn specifically to a person or an area. And I think the reason behind that, though, is because I think in general, spirit, when they deliver messages, they give us what we need rather than what we want, And so I've realized that in these live events that I do, I'll be drawn. Sometimes I even pick up on things before I go on stage. So then when I'm out there, I'm like, okay, I felt this, where are you? Right. And so immediately I'm looking for whatever that was. And the minute that I'm on stage, it's like, oh, there it is. And so I'll go here because I'm like, all right, this person was bothering me beforehand. So apparently they really want to talk, And so I'll be drawn to this person specifically right away. That one thing will then somehow lead to the next. And it's almost like things start to become tied in. And I don't know if they work together or what the hell goes on over there, but it's almost like one thing leads me to another, which leads me to another. And they're connected in some way. And then in many different ways, they're different. And that's also the fun that I have with spirit there, because they mess with me too. Like they try to, they will mess with me. And so, for example, like they'll be like, oh, this, there was one. So I did one, you might find this funny. I'm doing a reading at a live event. There's like hundreds of people here. I'm connecting with this one person. All of a sudden they start talking about, oh yeah, and grandma greeted me. And so everybody's great and blah, blah, blah. Right. Everything's wonderful. All of a sudden, because I spoke about a grandmother pops in. She's like, oh, you got to come over here because I got to talk to them right there. So I move over and I'm like, okay, this person's grandmother's here. She goes, you want to embarrass them really bad? And I'm like, not really. No, because then they're mad at me. They're not mad at you. You're not here. So I'm the one who's getting blamed for whatever's being said. And she's like, you got to talk about the painting that was made of me. She's like, have you ever seen the Titanic? And the girl, she's naked. And so there's a naked picture of me that was painted just like the one from Titanic. And they didn't know about it till after I died. I'm like, God damn it.
That's very specific.
Very specific. So now I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my God, like I'm so literally I'm arguing with nothing. Like Whoopi Goldberg in, the movie Ghost. That's what I looked like arguing with myself. And I'm just like, I'm not saying this out loud. And the daughter is sitting there and she looks at me. She goes, oh no. She goes, I know exactly what she's telling you if you don't want to say it out loud. I'm like, well, do I have permission to say this? And she's like, go ahead. So I said it verbatim, what she told me, and everybody burst out laughing. The one granddaughter had no idea, so I completely blew them in. And I'm like, oh my God, like nobody's ever going to come back to my shows because I'm giving away family secrets.
That's a great story. That is a great one.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
And Tess, when you say you heard it, do you hear what their voice sounds like? Are you getting that vivid of an image or a audio? Like what is that connection for you?
It's very similar to if somebody were to say to you, what are the lyrics to that song? And in your head, you start replaying the song and you hear the musician's voice and you hear the music and you hear it in your head very clearly. That's what spirit sounds like to me. So sometimes I do get a distinct, like that's how I can tell the difference between, okay, is it a male voice? Is it a female voice? How old are they? Like what's going on here? Sometimes they'll talk in like an accent and I'm like, oh my God, this person either spoke a different language or like they have a heavy accent or things like that. So it's, if that makes sense to you, if you were to try to recall lyrics to a song, that's what it sounds like.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you start? Now, did you start going into like haunted locations? Was that before or after meeting Nick?
So it's a really funny story. I did not want to do the paranormal. Like I am like, it's a shit show. I get so like scared of paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
I really do. It's creepy.
Yes, it's scary shit.
I don't want to be taken off guard. Like, I don't care to be in a location where doors are slamming. Like, I'm set. I pee myself now because I have 4 kids.
And you could get tetanus from a fucking nail that's ripped out. It's like these places suck. It's not like you get to stay at the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons is never haunted. It's some shitty place. It's some totally shitty place that you got to go to that's got no heat.
Hey,
and no
not
lights.
all the time. Not all the time. Like the Southern Mansion in Cape May is beautiful.
I'm sure. Look,
and it's haunted.
No, you're right. Of course, there's an exception that proves every rule. But I'm saying for the most part,
one exception.
Let's go to this insane asylum that's been abandoned.
Yeah,
and, you know
it's
what
not
I mean?
on my. Yeah, it's not on my list. Like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just
never.
don't.
Dude, never.
Nick even knows, like, I won't watch scary movies after a certain point at night because I'm like, I gotta go to bed. Like, I don't want to watch this shit. So, like,
I hate
for
scary
me,
movies. Yeah, I'm right with you.
Yeah, like, so prior to meeting Nick, there's many people who know that I was like, I'm not doing that. I got asked from A&E. I had shows that came to me that wanted me to be on TV. They wanted me as the medium on this and that. And I tried to compromise with them. And I would say, I'm not a paranormal investigator. So if you want me for this show to be a paranormal investigator, I don't want to do that. I'm a medium. I'll do that. But also, I don't want to be in haunted locations. And so I turned down multiple shows. But prior to Nick, I will say, like, I've done paranormal work, don't get me wrong, but that's also how I learned I didn't want to do it. And I'd be invited to like Paracons and I did events like that, but I always tried to really stick to my mediumship. And it wasn't until I met Nick and he legitimately tricked me into filming with him is how I got dragged into doing paranormal television because I did not want to do it. He called me up and was like, hey, you know, do you want to meet me at this spot real quick? Like, I got to show you something. Just come here. Like, it's crazy. You got to come over here. I'm like, okay. So I show up and I'm like, what the hell? There's his cousin with the camera. He's like, all right, now I need you to tell me, like, what are you feeling? And this and that. I'm like, you son of a, like, you just tricked me.
Right.
So truthfully, I never watched Ghost Adventures or any of his shows. I had no knowledge of who he even was when I met him. I stayed away from the paranormal. So I got tricked into it. And so now here I am.
Well, look, I think it's great. Well, first, I find it, and I want to talk about this too, because I'm in the entertainment business. I'm a producer. My wife is an agent. We're in the same field, but we do different things. Otherwise, we would murder each other. There just would be, I can't.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you and Nick are, you know, you're kind of a paranormal power couple.
That's what people say.
Some people say, but you are. I mean, look, you know, he's very well known. You're very well known. You're right. You know, and it's like how do you practically divide these roles between like evidence-based investigation and your intuitive perception so that you don't murder each other and become another spirit in these locations for other people to find?
It would be Nick who would be murdered because I have definitely the hotter temper than him. He is like super calm. He's like the person to bring it back around and be like, let's all calm down. Let's just talk about this. And I'm the Italian firecracker that's like, F this, F you, F this place. I'm gone. So like right then and there, we even each other out. But in one aspect, him and I surprisingly work really well together. Like he trusts my ability very strongly. And I trust his knowledge of what he does, not only in filmmaking, his genuineness within the filmmaking as well, because that was also another one of my big worries with doing shows is just the genuineness behind the production of it, right? So I never wanted to be involved with something that was like overproduced and just fake. And so his genuineness within his filmmaking and also just his knowledge of doing the paranormal, the devices that he uses and all that. So in one way, we work very well together. I'll be picking up on things. Next thing you know, he's validating it with his devices and things like that. So there's that aspect, and that's great. We disagree when it comes to like, I'll say to him, for example, we were in a person's home more recently when we were filming season 5 of Deathwalker. And it was a personal case. It was somebody's home. And there was a very, very dark energy that was in the basement. So we're down in the basement. I didn't want to go in the basement to begin with because I'm like, I already see it. I don't need to go down there. But he brought me down there. And so now we're down there and I tell him, don't go near this door because that's where this thing like hides. He's behind this door and I need you to like stay away from it. He went to the door and he's like opening it. And I'm like, you don't listen to me. Like, you need to stay away from that door. I'm like, what are you doing? So, like, next thing you know, you hear us on camera, like, going back and forth. And And Justin, his cousin's laughing his ass off because he's like, oh my God, here we go. And I'm like, you're not listening to me. It's behind the door, you know? So there's like those things where we disagree.
Do you feel like he takes the lead on the ghost investigations on locations, and maybe when you're on stage together, you're more the lead and you're like, hold my purse, this is my forum?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would say so. But then there's also times where he kind of sends me in like a hound dog in the paranormal investigation first. He'll be like, go in there, see what you feel, tell me what you feel, you know, and then he kind of takes the reins and he'll go do his thing.
Not by yourself. You don't walk through a house by yourself and do that shit.
Most of the time, no. But if you watch some of the episodes, he will leave me in a spot and then I'm having like a panic attack because I did not want to be left in that spot. And, but no, you'll hear it in some of the episodes. I'll be like, I'm not going in there by myself. So either you're coming with me or you're not getting me talking. So
do you ever I feel like my wife would be like, I already warned you to get out. Now you're on your own. Do you feel like, do you have to protect him at a certain point where it's like, when you're telling us, you know, he's not listening, you're not listening to me. Mm-hmm. Does it get to a point where you're like, all right, you're on your fucking own, I'm going outside? Or is it like, wait a minute, this is my partner here. I have to protect him. And do you guys have, is there like a safe word for the ghost hunts? You know, where it's like, when I say this, you better take it seriously and stop what you're doing.
Yeah, there should be a safe word. I'm actually going to use that from now on. There's been times where I'm like, you know what, if you're not listening to me, I'm going upstairs. You know, there's been times like that. And then there's other times where I have stood my ground. And even if I don't like it, I've stood there because I can see it more clearly. Nick can sense things. Don't let him fool you. He has a very, very strong intuition. So I know he can sense it, but he's more like, he'll go for it. He'll just go do that. And I think that's a lot of reasons why people loved his shows, especially things like Paranormal Lockdown, because he's headfirst into things and, you know, which is not something that I like to do. So good for him. But there's times where like, I know he's going to go headfirst into this. And so therefore I have to stand here and at least watch and like make sure I'm tuning into what's going on as he's doing this. So I think both have happened. I always lean more on the side of being protective than I do just kind of like peace out, you know. But
right.
Yeah.
Now you guys have a blended family, right?
Yeah.
You have like 5 kids.
Altogether 6.
6 kids. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What are some of the now wait, is it one of those situations do you have
though.
No, it's amazing. It's a Brady Bunch action. But do you have kids together yet, or is it both from previous?
Yeah, so I had 2 boys. He had 2 girls, Brady Bunch.
And then 2 together.
And then we had 2 together. Yeah.
Okay. So is it a situation like every other weekend? You guys are just there's 4 of you, and then every other 6 of you?
Yeah, for the most part. But the girls live in a different state. They're in Massachusetts, so like they go to school there and stuff. So basically, we have to see them whenever we have the opportunity to do so. Summertime is wild. Wild. We're juggling 6 of them for the most of the summer and everything like that. And then during school, if we get them, and it's insane. It's crazy, but it's fun. And
I bet
they love each other, and everybody just has such a cool connection. And the kids have abilities too. There's a few kids.
Well, that's what I was going to go here. Like, so what are the ground rules in a situation like this, in a family like this, where you got 2 people whose job is literally to chase ghosts and talk to dead people?
Yeah. So I think with the way YouTube is now, right? And so there's like a lot of YouTubers and the younger generation loves YouTube. So I think they're exposed to it a lot. Like they see things on YouTube. So now it's become, oh my God, mom and dad do this. And like, it's super cool. Like so there is an aspect of.
Wait a minute. How old are they that they think their parents are cool? I've never met a kid who thinks their parents are cool. Even I know rock stars who whose kids don't think they're cool.
They didn't think we were cool for a little while, but like my oldest son is 12. He'll be 12 in June, and he is now like, Mom, what you do is like super cool. And like all my friends, they watch like Sam and Kobe, and so like you guys know Sam and Kobe, so like you guys are like famous. And I'm like,
you're cool by association.
I'm cool by association.
Sam and Colby got the credit, but they let you in. They anointed you as cool. There it is.
There's
That's
another
the answer
guy
I was
like
looking for.
FaZe Rug or something. I've never heard of the guy, but like, you know, they're like, do you think you could reach out to like FaZe Rug or Sam and Kobe? Like, do you think you can blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Let me do that.
I get the double-edged sword of it. I get the, hey, dad, this ain't cool. This is whatever. But
Yeah.
then they go to their friends. Hey, my dad does this and my dad does that. And look, that's
Yeah.
what I get. I
Yeah.
get
It's
that
like,
you're not
forget,
cool, dad, but in
yeah.
front of the friends, I'm cool.
Yeah, that's
Forget that I
funny.
found a dead body or that I solved a homicide case. Like, forget about that.
Yeah, right?
All
But yeah,
right.
let me get you on YouTube.
So is there ghost talk at the table though, or is it no? Like, how does that work with all of that?
No, we're very open because I would say, especially for me, it was very taboo growing up. And so when you're in an environment where you don't feel like you can talk about it or that you're shunned for it, it causes a lot of just, man, I wish I had the ability to talk about it more. And I know, like, my parents and everything, it wasn't intentional. It was just the way that things were, right? And so I keep a very open book with the kids. If something happens, I want them to tell me. And I always tell them, like, if you don't tell me, I can't help you, right? So, and that goes for anything, paranormal or otherwise. If you don't tell me stuff, I can't help you. So there's a very, like, open line of communication with all the kids. And weirdly enough, all the kids have had experiences. The house that I live in now is haunted. So, when all the kids especially are staying here, even when not all the kids, it could just be some of them, but they have experiences within this house because there is things that take place here. And there is specifically one soul that has been in this house since I moved in. And so, we talk about it. We talk about it. We compare and contrast experiences. And some of the kids, like when Nick came along, my boys had already had experiences in this house. Nick came along and the girls come here, right? And next thing you know, his oldest daughter, Annabelle, she comes to me. She's like, there was this little boy. He was standing at the foot of the bed when I was trying to sleep. And I'm like, what did he look like? She explained him exact of how my kids have seen this kid at the edge of their bed and stuff. Like, I'm talking down to the overalls to whatever. She described him, and I turned to Nick. I'm like, what are you going to do? Like, they can see him. Kids are very open to it.
You mentioned something about how they see you on social media. And obviously we're all sort of playing in this social media space these days, but you got 6 kids and it sounds like, they're fairly young and influential in this space. And social media had its ups and downs even for you, like things blowing up, right? Wasn't there some incident with like a sitter you had like that went crazy viral or stuff?
It wasn't a sitter. No, there was a kid at school. There was a really bad kid at school. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay. We live our lives here online, and we're also living our life, in a place that's a this parascience, this paranormal space. What are the ethics that you try to balance with that with family? How do you manage that with your kids and stuff? Like we talk about this a lot. We're both have kids. I have young kids too. It's just a thing.
I don't know if what you were referring to might have been, and I'll just be honest about it, but there was an incident with Nick's ex-wife. That might have been what you have seen because that blew up. That was pretty terrible. We've always talked with our kids about being honest, like that there is, if you're honest about something, you might be held accountable for it. People might not like it, but like when you should always be honest, right? And we held back from posting a lot of like personal stuff for quite some time because when you're in the entertainment industry for a while, especially like when cable television happened and everything, Nick has had experiences even with Ghost Adventures where, people were wondering like what happened, and networks and people would tell him, don't say anything, don't post it, don't do this and that, right? But what happens is then narratives start to get spun, right? So he might not have said something, but other people then begin spinning a narrative, and then that turns into something else and whatever. And we realized that by not speaking up and not being truthful, that story is going to go on with or without you. And so you're then risking, now your kids might then see not the truth online because now internet is available to everybody. And this is a new world that we have to be to. So we've always been kind of, as long as it's the truth and that's what it is, the kids are going to know regardless. And we've had to tell the truth about a few scenarios. We've just had to, in order to preserve our reputation and, just the terrible, terrible things that go on. And I also think that the more people speak up about awful things that happen, the court system's not always going to help you. Law enforcement's not always going to be able to help you. Sometimes holding people accountable with public scrutiny or just being honest and saying, this is what happened to me is enough to make them stop. And that's something that we've had to deal with. It's unfortunate. but we're just very honest people.
I appreciate the answer. I mean, because I have this. See, John has been getting it for years too. You know, he's been out there with over 1 million followers. He gets a lot of heat and a lot of hate. I'm new to it.
I'm sure.
we get some of it, and you guys are in the public eye. You get it a lot. So I'm
everybody's got something to say.
Listen, He tells me all the time. I want to argue with everybody.
And I say, don't do it.
And he tells me not to do it. And I'll tell him,
it's
dude, I just got into
it. It's because you're Italian. It's
yes.
I had to train myself. I wanted to argue with everybody too. I had to train myself. But I do agree. There are certain things you need to be very vocal about, because that narrative is going to run down the street if you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
You need to at least have, some skin in the game where it's like, no, this is the record. This is what happened. That's it.
Yeah.
And then any other narrative that gets spun, at least someone can go back and say, hey, I heard him say this. That's not true.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate, but that's the world that we live in. It is. That is the world that we live in. And people, no matter what you do, whether you're right or wrong, whether you do something great or not so great, somebody's got something to say about it, but if it's harmful, like you said, or you really need to kind of cover your tracks, you absolutely should speak up.
Yeah. I made that mistake. I used to do it in the past all the time. I used to keep my mouth shut. Things would pop off right on live.
Yeah.
And I just keep my mouth shut and ignore it. Now I address it.
Yeah.
Now I just go right into it.
I love it. I secretly love the trolls. I really do. Yeah. I love arguing because he'll see me in his chats and I'll fight with him. I just like, I just can't take this because their argument is so dumb. I always say, I tell John, I was like, I got into this argument with someone because the argument was dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like if they came at me with some like a really thought-provoking argument.
They never do.
I would be, okay, that's a good point. Maybe I need to work on that or do it, but it's never that.
So real quick. You guys know the dead bells, right? You've seen those dead bells. You click them on, you set them down, the spirits will set them off. I just put out a video. I'm at Letchworth Village Cemetery. I take the dead bell from off the monument. I put it down on the ground. You see me click it on to make sure it's stable and it's not off, because then all you hear is a click. You won't hear the bell. I click it on. I set it down. There's people going crazy. You wound that up. We watched you wind it up. It's like, you can't wind those up. Mm-hmm. That's not how those work. But it's just, the perception. It's just what people see. And when people don't understand, they are going to create these narratives.
100%. Yeah.
Tessa, is there, what would you say is the biggest difference then with how you practice your craft and your abilities versus other, psychics and mediums? How do you keep that accuracy, integrity, and grounded approach? Like what do you tell yourself and what are those ground rules for you specifically to separate yourself?
I always say that as a medium, our job, I think the reason we have this ability, if the person that you're speaking to, like if somebody came to me for a private reading or something, if they didn't leave me feeling better about their situation or about the people that they lost on the other side, then I don't think that I did my job. I've really never had that happen. I think that, if you have this ability and you're doing it correctly and your goal is to validate that there's no way I could know that this person on the other side, any of this information that they're giving me, but that they want you to know this specific message that somehow, lifts you a little bit and makes you have faith that they are okay, that they're on the other side, that those signs that you're getting from them are real, then I think I did my job, And so I think people with my ability, there's many different mediums. I can't say that we all receive information or deliver the information the same way. I think we all have different ways of doing so. But for me personally, I want to know that even if it's a live show with hundreds of people, if they don't walk away from that show feeling like I have more hope that the other side can connect because of what I just witnessed and what I just heard, then I wouldn't have done my job. So that's the way that I practice. I talk to people the same way I would talk to my friends or my family. Like I swear, I say it as it is, because that's what spirit wants. Like they want you to hear the reality and have their personalities come through. And so I'm very personable. I try to be with people to make them comfortable. And, because people sometimes are intimidated by a medium. They think that, we're the all-knowing people and we're like something special. I'm like, we're really not. We're just normal people. We just get different information than you. So like, I'm a normal person, and I swear and I do crazy things. And so there's a level of relatableness. Is that even a word? We relate.
Sure.
So I try to keep it, as personal and relatable as possible.
And how do you define that line between healthy skepticism and closed-mindedness, especially when you're working with law enforcement, scientists, or as we all know, hardcore skeptics in this space?
Yeah, I think skepticism, like a level of skepticism, is good because I think then that can wean out maybe the people who say that they're mediums, but they're not really a medium, or so I do think a level of
The
skepticism is
Claire
okay.
vagueness.
Yeah,
Claire
right.
vagueness. We call it right, Claire vagueness. Right.
Yeah. So I think a level of skepticism is good. I never try to change people's minds, though. Like, my job is not to change somebody's mind. I've had skeptics come to my shows. Like, I remember I had a guy sitting like front row in this show that I did, me and Nick did in Buffalo. He was front row, total skeptic, right? And Spirit came directly to him. I don't remember if it was a parent. I don't remember mom or dad, but I remember talking to him, and he just like sat like this, and he's looking at me, and he's like he didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I looked at him and I'm like, that's okay. But after the show, you and I are going to talk. You don't have to talk to me right now, but I'm going to find you. And after the show, I went up to him and he looked at me and he goes, first of all, I'm just not good in front of people. And he said, but everything you said to me was accurate. How the hell did you know that? And I said, well, that it was your person. I don't have that information. It's coming from them. They wanted you to have this information. And since I have you standing here, here's the rest of the message. He ended up crying, and he never admitted to me that I changed his mind, because that wasn't my goal. My goal was more so, I don't want your family member following me home or something. So I'm going to tell you what needs to be said. And I did. But I think he said it without saying it. When you're crying like that and you could see somebody emotionally being validated in some way, that there's a level of them that believes you. So I think that a level of skepticism is okay. I'm not looking to change anybody's mind, but I'm very confident in what I do as a medium and the information that's coming through. And yeah, I hope.
How often have they followed you back?
Well, I was just about to ask.
Yeah.
On that subject of them possibly following you back, do you have an off switch? Is it something that you have to do in order to turn it off? Or can you just instantly be like, all right, tune it out right now?
I can sometimes tune it out like a volume going down, but I can't completely get rid of it. I've never had somebody like follow me back, but I've had spirit approach me beforehand, sometimes even days prior, to where then they're with me for days. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't wait to get to this person's person so that I can tell them what needs to be said. It happened on a criminal case that I did it was a YouTube that I did. It was with Omar Gosh. And it was a cold case, 80-something year cold case. It was a Jane Doe. And he asked me to come do it. And the night before, or the day or something prior, I tried to go to sleep and I started hearing voices. And I thought that Nick or the kids left TV on. So I'm like hitting Nick and I'm like, go turn the friggin' TV off. Like I'm trying to sleep. And he goes to look, no kids are awake and no television is on. So then I'm thinking, oh my God, okay. So I'm laying in bed and all of a sudden I start hearing this little girl talking to me and another woman. And I'm like, at the time I didn't think about what I was going to go do the next day. And then as we were driving to the cemetery, I started hearing it again. And I turned to Nick and I'm like, holy crap, the people I was hearing last night has to do with whatever this case is, whatever he's having us come here for. And then it plays out that it was, in fact, those souls coming to me the night before. So I've never had them follow me home, luckily, because I always try to like get rid of the message, but I will have them come to me beforehand and I can't get rid of it. I can't completely block it. You can sometimes tune it down like a volume, but you can't necessarily turn it off.
So
wait, that guy's name was Oh My Gosh? Like that's a real name?
Yeah, it's his handle.
His handle on YouTube is
Oh
my gosh.
Oh, it's Oh My God. So have you ever had a time where a spirit came to you you had no idea why the spirit was coming to you. And then all of a sudden, you're doing, a live taping, you're doing a live show, you're doing an episode for something, and the connect happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's happened. It's happened many, many times. There was that scenario that I told you about. That there was another scenario where I was doing like a group reading, and I'll never forget. It was like an online group reading that I did, and my son Luciano, who's 3, he'll be 4. But at the time he was like 3, and I remember me getting ready to do this online reading. I was like putting makeup on to try to make myself look presentable, and I turned and I heard Luciano running around, and he was kind of playing and like laughing. And I'm looking and I'm like, who the hell is he talking to? And I look and he's running in the upstairs to go back downstairs. And I saw a little girl following him in spirit. And she was wearing a specific dress, and I saw her hair. She had blonde hair, and she's running. And I'm like, he's playing with a ghost, like, and it's not our residential ghost for sure. I've never seen this one before. And then I get on this live, and I'm like, I have to ask who lost the little girl, because she had to be 2-3 years old. She was the same size as my son. She was wearing this dress, blonde curly hair, this and the other. The girl had died the day prior.
Wow.
Fortunately, of brain cancer. She had succumbed to brain cancer. She had died the day prior. And she came knowing that somebody was going to be there to talk with her, and that they were waiting to talk with her. And she showed herself to me and was literally frolicking around until I jumped on that Zoom to be able to give that message.
So you had no idea that those people were going to be there for that little girl, and that little girl came to you beforehand.
Yeah.
Or to Luciano, who I would have put up for adoption if you found out he was a ghost magnet.
And so that makes you think, right? Doesn't that make you think? Like, you always hear, I get a big question about spirits and time, right? And you always hear people talking about time doesn't exist on the other side. It's different. But it really makes you think, like, how did that little girl know that you were going to have the opportunity to speak to their parents?
You want to know my theory on that?
Yes.
I would love to hear your theory on it.
I recognized this when I was a kid. Okay. When I was a kid, in the middle of the night, I'd have spirits coming to me, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, the house is haunted. But why are they all coming to me? My mom's not saying that she sees anybody. I had a younger sister. She's not saying that she sees anybody at the time. Grandma's telling me I'm crazy, Casper, this, that, and the other. Why are they all coming to me? And as I got older, I remember one of the spirits saying, you have a light around you. You're like, we can see you. You have this light around you. So then I'm like, holy shit, we're like a lighthouse in the dark to a spirit, because we have the ability and they know that we can see them. And I think that they're able to know the difference between somebody who can see them and can't see them. Like, again, I always reference the movie Ghost, and I know it's so corny, but also there's like some truth behind it. It's like the spirit recognized, like, oh my God, you can see me. You can see me. Like, how did Patrick Swayze know to go to Whoopi Goldberg? You know what I'm saying? Because she can see spirit, and spirit knows the difference. So I think that spirit, like the little girl, for example, was with her family, but the family knew, I'm going to be talking to Tessa. And so I think the little girl was able to somehow put 2 and 2 together and come to me in that way, energetically. And she's like, oh, Tessa can see me. And so I think that there's a connection to mediums and people with this ability, or any sense of intuition, as being like a lighthouse in the dark to spirit.
That's that quantum. It has to be that quantum.
Yeah.
Quantum tunneling, however we want to call it. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tessa, first of all, thank you so much for your time here today. I got a couple more questions for you. I'm sure you got better things to do than talk to a couple of Goombas like us.
But great.
What you got a lot going on.
A lot. I'm really excited because my book is finally going to be released. And this is something that I've been working on for years. There's 2 books that I'm going to have released. The first one is called A Glimpse. And that goes from what we started talking about, the time of me having my near-death experience up until the time I had my kids. So that's like the first part of my story, because I believe that after I had my children, things changed and my story becomes a bit different. And so there's 2 separate stories. But my first book, A Glimpse, will be out. It's supposed to be dropping before May. And so that's really exciting. And then Nick and I are working on 2 new series. And we are working with a network called Brandon Studios, Brandon TV. AKA BTV. They're out in Burbank. We did a couple live shows. They have some really cool sound stages and things out there. So we're able to do live shows with them. But we have 2 series coming out. One is a reality show, and this one is based around our life as a medium, a paranormal investigator, and with a whole bunch of kids, some of which who have abilities. And it's kind of giving you that look into our real life, as a family. And then the other one is about my ability to help with criminal investigations. It's going to be very, just around that. So those are some things to look forward to. We have a lot of other different just events and things. We're going to be traveling a lot so that we get to interact with a lot of fans and stuff. So we're just really excited.
I definitely I can't wait to check those out. When I do, tell me what I should look for to know, like, what Tessa's fingerprint is on this show, as opposed to Nick's. What's yours? Like, when we're watching these things, how do I'm like, okay, that's Tessa just got behind the scenes here and told the producer what's up, probably her husband what's up. Like, what do we look for?
Oh, I am so brutally honest. I don't even think it would be behind the scenes. It'd probably be right on camera. It would be right on camera. Like, as far as what are we going to show? Like, what do you want to see in these productions you're doing? How do I know, like, that's Tessa's vision for this, Yeah. I want people to see the reality of things, because I think that there's misconceptions with people who are in the paranormal world and what really goes on. And like I said, I think that even as a medium, there's misconceptions with the way that we work or the way that we live. And I also think that it's interesting to see the real life dynamics of having children. I think other people can relate to this with children as well. How to navigate children seeing spirits and all of that type of stuff. So I really want to focus on the reality of our lives and what really goes on, like the truth behind it and the things that we deal with. Because a lot of people, especially with Nick, right? Nick's been on TV for 20 years. And they see him on Ghost Adventures and Paranormal Lockdown. And he's that goofy guy on Ghost Adventures who's running around chasing ghosts and this, that, and the other. And people think like that's all he does. Like, that's it, right? That's Nick Groff. But he's a dad and he's a great athlete. And we do some really weird shit together that's like not even paranormal driven. Like, we enjoy doing other things. And, so I think it'd be cool to show the real life behind that, and also the struggles that we have, and that it's not always wonderful. There's
sure.
real life things that we deal with too. Yeah. So yeah, we're really focused on just the truth.
That's great. When I started really looking into you guys for this, even, it's like, oh, you hear Ghost Adventures, you naturally think Zach Baggins, but it's, Nick's the guy who made the doc. I mean, he's a big part of this. He is a big part of what people know of, paranormal, right? I mean, when you look at what the big hits of paranormal TV are, you go back to Ghost Hunters and you got Ghost Adventures. Yeah. I mean, these are the 2 top things for sure. I mean, to say otherwise is just not true. I mean, those are the go-tos, right, for everybody, the OGs of it all. So
yeah, exactly.
You're certainly part of a legacy in this space, and I feel very lucky that you came on and were willing to talk to us today. It's an education for me, for sure, and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening to me. Yeah, I'm a blabber. I talk. So I'm glad you guys were willing to listen.
We try.
I talk too, but I try to listen. I'm a big talker too, but for this, I just try to keep my mouth shut and listen, but I can go on and on myself.
Yeah.
No, I'm constantly fighting to interrupt and jump in and like have 6 people talking over each other. I'll work it out later. It's just kind of the thing,
That's how Italians are. We're all yelling and everybody's talking over everybody and whatever, but it works. And then everybody ultimately knows what the hell you said anyway, so it works.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
True. Yeah.
It's true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Tess. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for another episode of Splintered Spirits. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, stay curious.